Hi, and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I am Ozma the Dark, still rocking she/they pronouns. I might actually need to start saying that differently because I have probably been using that too much. Not the she/they part, just the rocking part. I am here, as always, with my lovely co-host, Christy. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I am slow and offbeat bluesing the she, her pronouns.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the rocking because I have to think of something else. That's my mood of the day.
Fair. And obviously, the lovely other co-host, Perfict. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. He, him pronouns.
And naturally, we are dealing with Christy's watched more of his content than I have, so I assume based off of Christy's recommendations that you're a wonderful person, Finnjamin Fox. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm quite wonderful. I'm doing very well today. Just watching the storm outside while meeting with all y'all. Also, yeah, he, him pronouns here.
Okay, and just a quick reminder, like, comment, and subscribe, something, important YouTube stuff. Now, today's topic is, and I'm sure everyone here is shocked by this, partially because I forgot to mention it to anyone outside of Finnjamin. Dating, shame, and the Superstraights is the topic. So anyone, and if you want to make me do the first thoughts about it, I mean, because there is a lot of shame with regards to the idea of any trans person dating. So if any of you want to bring up your thoughts in general.
Or the dating thing?
Any of it. Why not? Sometimes I don't think things through the best, and you know, you gotta go on a whim sometimes because it's all related to trans people dating or dating trans people of any sort.
Well, I had to go out of state to find a girlfriend. Although not the first time. I did that when I was supposedly cis too. So, yeah. Long and complicated. But the people who don't want to date me, I'm kind of like, all right, that's fine. But they're mostly people I'm not going to want to date anyway, because that wouldn't be the kind of mindset I would deal with. So I don't get it one way or the other.
Finnjamin or Perfict? Either of your thoughts, or I can bring up my quick thoughts as well if you want me to.
I'm conversant. I've had discussions on the dating thing and questions about things like, when is it appropriate to bring up your past or that kind of thing as a trans person, when dating is part of in the offing, or is it after you've been dating? When is the good time and that sort of thing? And you know, that's always, you know, always the conclusion comes to basically it has to be played by ear. It's person by person and the individual by individual. But the Superstraights is a term that I don't think I've got that fully pinned down. I'm not sure there is a universal meaning for it.
Oh, there is. It is. So maybe, okay, so I will quick tell my thoughts and bring it to that, and then we can save the best for last with you, Finnjamin, and then we can dive right into this.
If everybody could just include what they think Superstraights.
Well, no. Okay, so the Superstraights are, so it's like a meme that's become that's based around not wanting to date anyone trans. And that's it. You're super straight if you don't want to date anyone trans, and it apparently is allegedly related to sexual attraction, although seems to have nothing to do with sexual attraction and more to do with just not wanting to date trans people. And
Okay, but it seems to carry an implication of being able to know.
yeah.
Well,
Finnjamin, what are your initial thoughts, and then we can dive into it.
So for me, I think that it comes from and really drastically contributes to sort of the commodification of cis attraction and this narrative that we're given that trans people are inherently undateable, less desirable, what have you. It's this whole idea that, you know, when you listen to the cis people who are saying like I'm super straight, and it also of course inevitably branched out into, you know, well, I'm super gay, I'm like a super lesbian, and you know, I take issue with that because I'm just super gay, like I'm just really gay. But coming after my title, I'm bi, by the way.
I'm not gay enough.
There's still time. There's still time. But yeah, it's this idea that cis attraction is the be all end all of the trans dating experience, that's what we all want, what we all need, what we all crave, and that cis people who, you know, do the whole I'm not attracted to trans people thing are in a position of power over us. Like they act like they have this precious resource that we're all desperately trying to get, not acknowledging that one, there's plenty of people who do want to date us, and two, you couldn't pay me enough. Like for real. That's my big issue with it. It's like, it's just they think they're very important when like, honey, no thanks.
it's yeah, it's I mean, my girlfriend is cis, but I don't hold that against her. And
could you always tell?
Actually, to be perfectly honest, the first time I thought she was trans, but you know. Well, I'm a public figure in Buffalo, so it's I can't not disclose immediately. It's not. Yeah, so it usually, and all my public profile says I'm trans and everything. I even in my Tinder, it's Tinder and Bumble and that other thing that has the super straight colors. That all has that information already, so I don't even have to worry about anybody who doesn't want that. Okay. Keep amongst yourself. I'll be gone for a minute.
Okay. I personally am terrible at understanding the dating scene in general, but I mean, to be fair, like I've been like processing the fact that I'm like gray asexual and like some form of aeroflux, and I'm just like, I don't understand how to do this, but I really want physical affection. And that's its own other societal thing. But yeah, it's so when it comes to this, I get the impression that there's a sense of shame attached to anyone dating someone trans. And I thought I had more to say about that, but honestly, I'm trying to figure out how best to say, because it's like it's a societal thing that I'm not quite sure the reasoning for, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think that there's pressure, a certain unspoken pressure on cis people to justify their interest in a trans person when it does happen. That it doesn't even begin to get into the other issue with the whole super straight thing of just, like what Perfict was saying. How do you can just look at someone and tell if they're cis or trans?
Yeah, they can always tell. Remember, they can always tell somehow. I know they have numerously mistaken cis people for being trans or trans people for being cis, but they can always tell.
I've had more than one encounter with someone who has said something unsavory about trans people, talking to me like, but they don't use the term cis usually, but implying like we the normal people know what that's like, don't we? And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Fucking normies.
Yes. Oh God. But I do think that there's, because of this narrative that we're given of trans people being less stateable, that trans people internalize that and think when they go into the dating scene that they're not worthy of the kind of relationship that they might want, or that they are inevitably going to get less interest from people, and that cis people who are interested in a trans person, when someone falls in love with a trans person, what's my family going to think if they find out? Like, do I disclose my partner's trans status to my friends, or is that something that I leave up to them? How do I talk about it if the conversation comes up?
Yeah,
I think, that's very much a thing. And I am not educated or experienced enough to know exactly where it comes from, but I would venture that just the long-running history of transphobia.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely that's definitely a factor. Hey, Christy. Emily.
Yeah, I was listening. I had to take care of something. I apologize.
Emily.
To the audience, before you go to Emily's thing, there's a personal crisis I'm really having to take care of.
Okay.
But I begged for Finnjamin to be here, so I don't want to miss this.
This is true. Sometimes I put effort to try to get people. Well, no, I always put effort when it comes to Christy's recommendations, and generally they're good recommendations, and half the time they are. Half the time, whenever I try to get in contact, they say no or ignore me. But that's beside the point. That's always going to be the case if you try to contact someone if they're bigger than a certain amount, and that relates to a whole nother thing. But Emily was wondering if eugenics, in terms of the potential contributing factor, because, and I can see where that comes from, because the whole idea of trying to have
Master
people
race?
trying for there is like a master race element within society still, where it's important that your children are birthed with your special parts, and if they're not, that's sad, or generally societally seen as lesser. Like, if you adopt children, they're your children for the most part, is kind of the attitude that had, and every
Children
time
with an asterisk.
yeah, and definitely when the first time I tried to get technically the second time I tried to get HRT, but once I found out about the informed consent laws, I talked to a doctor for getting HRT, and I was rejected because I didn't know I was going to be asked about whether or not I would want to have children in the future, and I didn't know quite how to verbalize my response to that, because there's no way I would want to have children in the future with like involving me producing sperm, because that would be weird to me. So like the answer ultimately is no for the purposes of anything that they care about. And it's just like, but because I floundered on that question, I was rejected for HRT. Because it might affect, doesn't matter that like I had been trying to get HRT for almost like 10 years. That didn't matter. The important thing is whether or not I might be able to have children in the future. And that also factors into dating. And I don't know if any of you have experienced any other element that might relate.
Well, I mean, surprise, my oldest, I'm pretty sure, is ace, and my youngest is trans, so. Youngest came out first. I know, you wouldn't know that.
Look, I get it. Your family is queer.
My family is queer. My mother is way too straight. Although she dresses like an old queen. She gets mistaken for
That's
that.
funny. My daughter thinks I dress like an old queen.
Well, I mean, you got a lot of the blue makeup on. My mother I've also said this before, but my mother gets tagged as trans more than I do, which is funny because I'm usually kind of sedate looking. I'm only on stage am I, out there.
Yeah.
But so the children thing, yes, they asked me that also, but because of I have two, but 19 years apart, so I'm pretty much set as far as that goes. But I'm already past menopause.
But still on the dating scene, so still relevant to the issues.
Yeah, and
I thought that was a good idea.
And I get the relation that some of this that relates to all LGBT stuff as well. The sort of shame with relation of, for some reason, I get the impression that dating might be considered bad by some cis-hets because the type of baby that you get is important, or how you get the baby is important, I think. I don't know if you have any thoughts about this.
I mean, there's definitely a dismissal of families who take the adoption approach, for sure. I would venture that, and this is kind of an on-the-spot observation and not something that I've put a lot of thought into, but it could be part of why a lot of trans people do end up in relationships that aren't straight. A lot of them tend to do that, and when it comes to dating, other trans people, but also cis people as well. And I know that, for my relationship, my partner is a cis man, and I think that the fact that he was already sort of in the mindset of not having biological children maybe did make that easier. Maybe that is a part of it. So for trans people ending up in relationships that are queer outside of them being trans, I would say that probably plays a role, because it's easier to find partners who are just sort of, already aware of the fact that they're probably not going to have biological children and don't really have the same pressures on them to do so.
And there's the stigma of the chaser too. I'm just thinking about that now.
Oh no, I don't want to think about the chasers.
Yeah, it's
None of us do.
those things I've been trying to figure out for the last few years. Is what is the separation point?
Oh no, Perfict's internet went out. He'll be back.
What's the separation point between chaser and trans attracted? I'm not really fond of that term either, but I also very much, and just on the side note, I very much agree on the dating within the queer community as much as, and to be perfectly honest, I was just going to be T for a long time.
That's, I think one of the things that got me about the whole the super straight thing was, and I don't anticipate that people who go on the internet to talk about how much they hate trans people and would never date them are informed on trans terminology in any way. So I don't want to like, clearly not. But it would be interesting for some of these people to know their reaction to how many trans people go T for T. Like a great many trans people do, and just for anyone who might be watching T for T being trans for trans, and I think that too sometimes, and I've at least seen it talked about this way, usually by transphobes saying, you know, well, it's because you can't find anyone else who wants to date you, and that's very rarely the case. It's usually finding someone who understands your experience, finding someone that you don't have to kind of explain everything to all the time, finding someone that you can share the best memes with, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Although obviously, like, people can pick up on memes eventually, given enough time. But yeah, it definitely is also safer, generally for trans people to date other trans people, just because it's you don't know what a cis person's reaction is going to be to you mentioning anything, and you don't even know if it's safe to mention that you're trans.
I think the one thing that startled me in the sphere of that is I did have one person who said she would sleep with me if I wasn't trans, and it was a trans friend of mine.
Yeah, so that relates to what I think is there are internal aspects of all the hatred. So when it comes to the only people who are guaranteed to be seen as a woman are cis women. So it's one of those things where some people are desperate enough to try to find a way to get into an experience they can feel is societally normal to any degree, and they don't want to feel separated from society by just dating someone trans, and I think a lot of it has to do with that sort of fear.
I think there's a different kind of externally imposed shame when it comes to being a trans person dating trans people. One of the nice things about T for T is often that you don't have your partner dealing with that associated shame of dating a trans person, having to explain things that we were talking about before. When a cis person is dating a trans person, you are with a partner who they already know how to talk about trans stuff. When it comes to talking to their friends or family, if it ever comes up, they've been there, done that already. But I think that when it comes to trans people dating, there is a different kind of shame, because we're already ostracized and sort of pushed to the outskirts of society. It almost, and this is me kind of trying to put myself in that headspace, I don't think this is actually the case, but I imagine that it almost feels like you're sort of reinforcing that.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, I can definitely sympathize with some of the aspects of that, but I mean, to be fair, years ago I was relatively close to trans medicalist, so with my attitudes. And that was before I was on the internet much, so people can't really prove that that was the case, but trust me, it was. My history with the internet's another complicated story. Zoloft is the reason I'm on the internet. Because it was getting rid of the last thing that prevented me from trying to do any social interaction whatsoever.
That's our version of the little blue pill, yeah?
Well, oh yeah, that is. But, I mean, for me, that's only because I inject myself with estradiol, so I don't have the fun estradiol pills anymore.
No, this is.
Yeah, I know. Zoloft is also a little blue pill. I know.
The thing that I think is worth trying to hit is that people were discussing things like it adds a complication. For instance, if you're dating a trans person, when do I tell my friends? Should I tell my friends? When should I tell my friends? Should I tell my family? When should I tell my family? How much do I? And I think that one of the things that should be stressed is at no point is it your obligation to have told them.
Yeah.
It never comes up that you should have done this by this point. That simply isn't something, that isn't one of the things that's even vaguely included in that. Your partner's history is their history. They choose to share it with you. You can choose to share it with others. How much they and others are all influencing on that is all just in the mix. So yes, indeed, if you're dating a trans person, because of the way society is all set up concerning these things and all of their various interests, it is perhaps more complicated. There's more moving parts, but that doesn't mean that it's become somebody else's precinct. It's still your decision. It's yours to talk about.
Yeah, and it's kind of complicated with when it comes to, depending on the person, depending on the circumstance, depending on where they are, where they want to be in terms of transitioning, and all sorts of factors. There's a certain weird attitude of transphobes where I get the impression that whenever dating comes up, they're like, oh, trans people, they're those people who are trying to trick me like into thinking that they're women, especially trans women. For whatever reason, they always hate on trans women.
As I've said before, in particular types of guys, they view trans women as traps because for them, in where they're at, they are. Because if they treat them like a woman, they're gay. And if they treat them like a man, they're a bigot. And so they view them as just being a social trap.
Not according to my comment section. They just come in there and
then spew hatred. That's, yes. That's the normal response at that point, which is people are all kinds of fucked up, but that's just
it depends on the person. Look, I have cishet friends. I know I have a cishet friend. They're one of the good ones.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that people get themselves all bound up and tied into a corner on all kinds of issues. This is not going to be the least amongst them. But you can't aim at pleasing those people. You can't please them. There's nothing you could do to please them. If you moved to Mars, it would not please them.
Yeah, I'm an ocean away from a lot of people who come after me, so you know. Um, one of the things, but during these discussions, transmasc always seems to just get left out. Is that a blessing or a curse?
I think it is a little of column A and a little of column B. I
Yeah,
think
I can
that
see that.
yeah, so much of the transphobia comes back to transmisogyny, homophobia, misogyny, and just how all three of those things kind of orbit one another. And in that sense, it is you almost I obviously can't speak for all trans men or all trans masculine people, but there's definitely a sense of almost survivor's guilt in a way. Being left out of those conversations is, yes, there's an element of erasure at play, but there's also a fair amount of privilege in not having to be at the center of those conversations. Now, does it come with the added problem of a lot of transmasculine people not really knowing how to navigate the dating world and not really knowing what to expect because they haven't been talked about? Definitely, I would say that's a side effect. I definitely didn't know what I was getting into when I started dating. I was very ill prepared for what I experienced, for sure. Mostly because the only examples that I had seen chasers specifically talked about in was regarding trans women. I knew that was a very common problem. I knew that trans women and trans feminine people dealt with that on a regular basis. I should have been, because, you know, I'm someone who dates men and I've dated men my whole adult life. So I should have known that men will continue to be men even after I myself am also a man, or at least appearing as one. And
Well, I mean, do you consider yourself a man?
well, I mean, I consider, like, I was before, I just didn't realize or look like one.
Oh,
Yeah. But now that I'm like very, you know, very much secure in that identity, I had this moment where I anticipated things would change a little bit. They did not. It was just a different kind of fetishization.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Although that being said, I still have the least dating experience of anyone in this room, so I am probably not the best person to talk about some of the aspects of this. It's a lot more about what I see happen, and definitely, yeah, there's always going to be chasers of some sort. I think. Well, maybe I just get the impression that women get fetishized more. But then that would be admitting that transphobes see trans women as women sometimes, and
that is a catch-22 in the way they talk about it.
Although it's oftentimes like whatever they need to, a man when they need to, a woman when they need to. And it's probably the same with trans men. It wouldn't surprise me. You're shaking your head, yes. So I'm guessing.
Yes. I will say that I don't know, because I only have my own experience to reference against one way or the other. The treatment is worse when people perceive you as a woman. That's what I found personally. The fetishization persists if you're a trans man, but that seems to almost go back to that sort of that commodification of cis attraction that I was talking about before. The approach that I tended to get was less about gaslighting and possession and intimidation tactics, as is often the more toxic approach to dating women that trans women and cis women alike have to deal with, and was more about, doesn't it make you feel good that I, a cis guy, am this attracted to you?
Oh,
even though you're a
God.
trans man. It's more that sort of thing.
Fuck that attitude.
Oh yes.
No, I have met, even though not the specific type of experience, there's a certain attitude like that amongst some egotistical pricks who are just like, isn't it great? Aren't you happy to be friends with me? Like, even shit like that, where it's just like, I'm the best. Aren't you glad that you have the wondrous aspect of being able to be friends with me? I accept you for who you are today, and
I have one of those. There's a song title that just pretty much sums up my thoughts on it. Who died and made you, Elvis?
I mean, it's not wrong.
So, yeah, I was not prepared to navigate the chaser thing, to be perfectly honest, because I came out after my kid. My kid taught me more about what I needed to watch out for.
Oh, that reminds me. So we haven't gone into the details of what's considered to be a chaser. I think I get the impression that we kind of glossed over that and immediately dove into talking about to shitting on chasers. So oftentimes, at the very least, you can agree or mention if you have a different way of defining it, because I'm not sure there's an exact definition, but people who I tend to view chasers as people who fetishize people who are trans, and also oftentimes are transphobic as well, like not actually fighting for or caring about the rights of trans people, just following them and creeping on them.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's if you can remove other aspects that are attractive about that person and you would still be attracted to them specifically because they're trans, you're probably getting into chaser territory. There is it definitely goes hand in hand with transphobia, for sure. What you were saying is very true. I remember someone who hit me up approached me by saying that he likes FTM.
Oh God!
As that was the intro, and I was like, I'm supposed to be wooed by this. And when I did turn him down, he followed up by asking if I had any trans man friends I could hook him up with. Like I could just tap into the trans man hive mind and just be like, fellas, there's a catch out here just waiting for you.
Wait, you haven't connected with the hive mind yet?
Not yet. I don't.
That's in the handbook.
I guess I don't know if it's like a special injection I need to do, if I have to update my chip or what's going on, but I've been having some connection issues on that one.
And
Yeah.
Maybe I'm faking. Oh.
Well, maybe I got extra access with my special access because I was born and raised Jewish, so I have access to the Jewish space laser, and that was where I got like a speed run into the hive mind.
To be fair, I don't know that I knew anybody who was not outwardly, but out as, because I can't. My brain works in, okay, this is woman. Okay, that's woman. I don't care. It's the specific function of the way I look at people, but
Okay.
I can't recall before I came out. I can't recall having known trans man other than my kid.
What I've been able to figure out about chasers is that chasers is the objectification. It's when the attraction is based on not the idea that it's sexy, but that it's dirty.
Yeah, and also, much like what Christy mentioned, we're not like a hive mind. That was a joke. You don't need to update the chip. Everything's fine. That being like, because just it's easy if you don't know anyone trans, because I didn't know anyone who is also trans for like a long time. It's easy to just be desperate for, if you're not in a safe place, and a lot of trans people aren't, it's easy to feel desperate for anyone to feel like anyone accepts you. And that's part of what I feel like is a risk with chasers, because they just need to play the game of looking, and eventually they'll find a vulnerable trans person to do with what they will.
Okay, am I off with that as a requirement for chasers? That's the feature? Or
It depends on whether you're separating out chasers and trans attracted.
I think that people can be trans attracted without being chasers. I don't think that's. I don't even think that trans people have an issue with the idea that somebody could be trans attracted.
Well, what does trans attracted even mean?
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't know where that line is. It's a strange line, and I don't. I mean,
Because
if I want to do T for T, that would automatically make me trans attracted, but I'm not a chaser either. You know.
Yeah, that's a term I've heard before, but I've never heard of a clear definition of it or where that line is.
Yeah.
It's just a thought. I also find it funny the whole dynamic trans mask and the way people see fit to talk about it. I left a comment on Cup of Joey's channel. Related to the topic he was talking about. And first comment back was, "You'll never be a woman." This is someone who's not going to Joey, "You'll never be a man," because, and I know that happens. Actually, they tell Joey all the time, "You'll never be a woman," but he's like,
that's a complicated thing. If you mention you're trans and don't mention if you're a trans man or a trans woman, or even if you do, sometimes they get confused and they're just like, everyone trans is a man pretending to be a woman is likely how they've shuffled anyone trans. So there are the occasional amusing comments where they're just like trans men and they're just like, "You'll never be a woman," and it's just like, well, I mean, that's a nice statement in some ways, and kind of funny that they're saying it.
I don't know, but I wonder why people seem to see fit to, if I leave a comment on trans mask channel, I'm almost guaranteed that I'll get one of those. If on a trans femme channel, I will get one of those with a side swipe at the person whose channel it is. It doesn't seem to work quite the other way. And where Joey's always being told there'll never be a woman is on Twitter. It has nothing to do with his channel. So I'm sorry I didn't explain that well.
Well, I mean, I understood. I have an idea, and it's just related to sexism. Men are the ones who do things. Women are the ones who have stuff done to them, is like an element of sexism. And so which is why they always transphobes are always describing trans men as women who have been tricked the other trans people into transitioning, and trans women are always men actively going to play pretend to be a woman to rape children or whatever, because that shit is far too much used. But yeah, that's just my idea, that consciously they want to are still using like sexist tropes.
The transgender craze sweeping our daughters would not work the other way around.
Oh, that book.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I remember calling Target to try it about that book.
Target has pulled it off the website.
Yep, they have.
It was, I think, her only scientific reference was like the only doctor that she had who really agreed with her was from my home province of Ontario. I'm sure we've all heard of him, Dr. Zucker, who was shut down for conversion therapy. So
Yeah.
I don't know why she thought, this is a great compelling argument. I'm going to write an opinion piece that's informed by a guy who lost his right to practice. Perfect, foolproof. Got him.
Well, she has an explanation for why he lost his.
True.
Yeah.
It's a nasty book. It was because we did it.
Oh yeah, the secret, the trans army, which is controlling everything.
I see. Having mobilized 2.5% of the populace.
Well, I mean, it's the Jewish trans Bolsheviks who are secretly controlling the government through their lizard skin, and there's a relation between all of those types of conspiracy theories, and it's all really bad and unpleasant, and based around the anti-Semitic bullshit that helped inspire the Holocaust. So it's always good when your arguments are the same ones that helped propagate the Holocaust. It's always a good sign, right? Couldn't be a problem there.
The idea of men where that's who's doing anything. Which that makes a lot of sense. The way I've looked at it so far has been trans women are looked at badly for trying to move down and occupy a space that's beneath, and trans men are ignored. They're striving to be in a place that it doesn't matter, that didn't belong. Or at least they're striving up. Which is how I've encountered it, but the other one sounds good too.
But I think it's those two constructs working together. Is this whole idea that men are the agents of society, that women are the objects of society, non-binary people don't exist. That whole construct combined with, the trans women are attacked more because they're seen as downgrading, whereas trans men are, just at. It's either you're a confused girl or, obviously you want to be a man, because being a man's the best thing to be. So of course. And I find that in those cases, for trans men, it's all just a matter of how cis-passing you are. If you are not a trans man who wants to go on HRT or has access to HRT, then you're a confused girl. And if you are a man who, trans man who does have access to HRT and who transitions and has, don't like to call it this, but I guess a successful transition where, in the eyes of society, you are.
Oh, that's not where mine meant. I just assumed you were going to say a bushy beard. The trans man with the bushy beard that
chop trees down with your face.
Exactly.
Like a proper man.
Exactly.
Last week was a very week before it was another one. But recently it was a very strange thing because again I have a trans son, so I was being mammed everywhere I went. I was passing, which cool, and he was passing, which for the first time was like he was really excited about it. What he was not expecting is that they'd automatically defer to asking him questions and not.
Yeah.
Home Depot is a totally different experience now. Totally different experience.
Oh yeah. Although I get away with pouting a lot, which just at automotive places because I don't know anything about cars.
I will say for me, groceries are a different experience. As soon as I started passing more regularly, because I take the groceries home and I like being in shape and I like the idea of doing athletic activities still because I'm non-binary. That's the reason. No, I'm kidding. That's not the reason. Fuck the androgynous assumption. No, I just like physical activity still. So I walk home with my groceries, but I get asked if I need help like way more almost every time. Actually more than a cis friend of mine's, which she suggests that's possibly just due to me seeming more feminine or something. I don't know. I don't know the reason. I just know that I get asked if I need help with the groceries, and it's sexist, so that's an assumption, but at the same time it's also nice to feel like you're actually being accepted even if you feel like they wouldn't accept you under other circumstances.
Well, and I'm gonna contradict that a little bit too now. I had a very very strange experience at the airport last night, and I've been a confused person at airports many a time, but this is the first time as this. And asking a question of somebody would garner me an explanation. Last night was a nightmare because nobody would actually answer a question. And they kept treating me like I was not smart or asking the question right.
Oh yay.
That. Again, like I was saying, when my kid gets asked, or it gets the attention, and I'm completely ignored, even though it's my errand I'm on.
Yeah.
I didn't lose any. Well, I don't know. Maybe
well, I will say we're getting close to the hour mark, so it's fine to go off topic, although it generally we like to try to occasionally bring it back to the dating thing. I know we were just off topic for a little bit for a second there, dealing with sexism, but because that's still a thing, and that still technically loosely relates to dating, or well, actually probably not that loosely, but sometimes loosely relates to dating, and sometimes very much so relates to dating. And Finn, I need to ask, or actually Finn or Perfict, I need to ask a question. Do they still, are men expected to pay? Is that still a thing?
I live in a very queer city.
Okay.
So I think that the culture here, I'm sure that is the case some places. I post, coming out and reaching a point where I was consistently passing in public, did go on a few dates with women where I offered to pay. And I don't know if that was just me being just like the whole trans guy thing, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna offer to pay. This is what men do. I think that I sort of imposed that on myself.
Yeah.
In one instance, she was really appreciative, and in the other, she was like, no, let's go splits on it. So I don't know if it's an expectation across the board. I think that it might kind of just depend on where you are and who you're with.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. And as for the impositions, the self-imposed things, like I avoided having my own style for far too long because I was focused on passing, because I didn't want to deal with not passing. So I overthought everything in terms of what the right thing to do is and what's right in terms of how to look. And now I don't care as much, but that's because I can pass even if I have my hair where I shave like the side and back of my head. So, cut short, whatever. Faux hawks are fine. Faux hawks are fine for passing for me at this point.
It's nice when you get to a point where you can start kind of playing with style and presentation a little bit more.
Yeah, because then I can just be myself more. And in terms of personality, that became less of a concern, but because I have some feminine aspects to my personality, so I'm like, it's not like that big of a deal. More accurately, the more I stopped thinking about it and was just myself, like, the more feminine I ended up acting anyways. So, like,
My first clothes shopping trip.
Be right back. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My first clothes shopping trip, everything pink. Everything.
Yeah. I think that's a common experience among trans people, is that the major thing they have to do is step out of their own way and stop trying to act masculine. And then they can...
Well, stop trying masculine or feminine or whatever. Just try to pass. Like, if you're a trans man, obviously that would be stop acting feminine and acting more like a man, and the other way around for trans women. And non-binary people are already cool. Like, if they're non-binary before transitioning and have already figured out style, chances are.
Chances are they'll work that stuff out. Yeah.
Like I said, being in the late 70s and early 80s, me dressing feminine was just part of the thing.
I think that non-binary actually is kind of one of the hardest ones for people to make that adjustment, because there is no target.
No, the target is yourself.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You go, I have to make up my own goal. I can't say I don't have a target. I have to figure out where I'm headed.
Yeah. But I mean, that's also nice.
Well, yeah, I think that's got a lot of liberty to it, but that liberty is also makes it less easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I didn't figure out I was non-binary until, like, after transitioning. And then I started figuring shit out more, but that's also partially because I had a lot of dysphoria. And dysphoria is not required to be trans. Just to be clear about that, I just had a lot.
I think that's the goal of non-binary being to just sort of be yourself. I think that's part of why so many trans medicalists are so dismissive of non-binary people. I think that part of it comes from a place of jealousy, personally. I think that, I mean, you mentioned earlier, sort of bordering on transmedicalism, and I've talked about this on my channel already. Same. I did the same thing, went to the same place.
Yeah. Same. I mentioned earlier in this stream, but I've mentioned in other streams that I bordered on transmedicalism earlier, and it's just like trying to find. It's like a need for the exclusion because you understand. If you don't understand the person's experience, it's easy for you to feel like they're anyone who happens to be non-binary who isn't taking hormones or isn't getting gender confirming surgery. It's easy to feel like they're just sort of taking that or something. I think is the sort of attitude I had, and also the horrible attitude of if someone is playing around with some aspects of transitioning, that they'll probably go all the way. That horrible attitude I remember having as well.
I mean, I was a teenager in the late 70s and early 80s. And that's all. Transmedicalism was all there was. And
Well, it's definitely the loudest.
It's, yeah.
And people probably didn't have the verbiage for how to explain their experience, because obviously all of those things have been around forever.
Well, the only way to get seen or to get treatment was to pathologize your identity.
Yeah.
So transmedicalism feels very much like a relic of that medical gatekeeping, which I guess is, when you say it out loud, well, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, fuck the medical gatekeeping. I was 21 when I was pretty sure I was trans, but I was obsessively trying to make sure I got a medical diagnosis, and when I did, I wasn't able to move any steps further because I needed to dress like extra feminine. And although I've been lazy and wearing a skirt a lot recently, I do wear pants a lot, and I do like to wear women's pants a lot, and I like to wear t-shirts and stuff and cool punky type stuff, and I just have a different style that I want, and I would be wearing the most feminine stuff for them and not for me. For them,
you
so
have
they
to wear pink. Don't you understand? If you don't like pink, you're not a girl.
Yeah, unless you're back in time, in which case, if you don't like blue, you're not a girl.
Yeah, well.
It's
Quit bringing reality into this.
No, reality is important.
It is a strange thing. I came out in high school for not long. So 1981, 82. Late 82, early 83. And the entire way to look at trans was so different then. I mean, I went to art school, so it didn't really matter in my case, but just yeah. The first question, are you? Have you had the surgery? With a capital T, capital S.
Oh God, this surgery question.
And I can't say I didn't ask that of other people myself. So.
Hmm. So, I guess, what, out of curiosity, so what is the funniest thing about the dating scene? I'm going to keep bringing that one back because I haven't used that question enough. Just because it's not all bad. It's not like a grim, depressing place that everyone's gonna hate you and no one's gonna appreciate you. I mean, that's kind of part of the point of the arguments we've been well, not arguments, the conversation points that we've been talking about. But like, what are some of the funnier aspects of it, or what aspects do you find the funniest? And I have very little dating experience outside, except for stuff pre-transitioning, so I'm gonna force everyone else to say stuff, just because. My ex, who's also one of my best friends, she got mistaken for a man once, and then she understood the shit I was going through all the time. And that's not that funny. I just can't think of anything funny at the moment because, like, because most of my dating was pre-transition, and any of my dating post-transition was online, and I'm not super into romantic stuff, so I'm a whole mess with that. So I don't necessarily know what to do outside of friendship. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I really hope that they launch the Snuggle equivalent of the hookup app at some point.
I want that. I want that so bad.
Yeah. Just
I need
just
that.
looking for a cuddle buddy. That's what I want. We really need to have that.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm trying to think of if I had any funny interactions that weren't also abysmal. I did have. So when prior to coming out, I was in a long-term relationship, 9 years, with a heterosexual man. So of course, when I came out, that relationship did not continue. So I had not really dated since I was maybe 19 or 20. So as a fully fledged adult, had never really played the dating game before. And so I wasn't sure. I didn't know, like, am I monogamous? Am I polyamorous? Like, how do I want to approach this? I know I'm bisexual, so like, do I want to be poly and maybe explore dating people of different genders? Like, how do I want to go about this? And I ended up connecting with someone on an app who then the polyamory community is its own thing, and the queer community is its own thing, and there's a lot of overlap in the two, but both of them are, you've got like smaller dating pools. And someone that I met on one of the apps and had been talking to while I was sort of exploring, my roommates were polyamorous, and therefore no other people in the poly community. And this person ended up coming to my home, and we had a whole conversation. We're chatting and just having a lovely evening, me getting to know them as a friend of my roommates, before it was revealed, because I mentioned, oh yeah, I was talking to someone whose dog has the same name as your dog, and he was like, yeah, that was me. So I had one of those experiences. Where, I connected with someone who then showed up in my home for unrelated reasons.
During the last year before it came out, I had a lot of trouble remembering that I wasn't out. Which is a strange thing to say, but it was a breakdown year. And I asked someone out who I knew was a lesbian. It was like, and had no problem with trans people, but she didn't know I was a trans person. Because where's the thing? Yeah, I know most people don't like to show the old pictures, but you know, there's very much of the ID. There's that. That's you know.
Yeah, I'm not showing mine on stream.
I'm always so every single time another trans person shows me their old ID or an old picture, and even if they contextualize it first and they're like, yes, this is me previously, I'm still always so confused. I'm like, who is that? Like, who is this stranger that you're just bringing into the conversation? That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so the funniest thing though was well, two different things. One, there was somebody I knew but could do without from the trans community, and showed up on Tinder and Bumble and Grindr and not Match, but one of the other ones at the same time, the same day, as a match for me.
Interesting. Well, at least you know the algorithms may or may not work.
Yeah, and I eventually, I mean, I just shut everything down. No, this is not my day, obviously. But this happened to me again with someone I did like, and
Well, I'm actually going to close my thing for a second because I need to try the video. Sorry. Right.
she didn't. There was someone else I did like, and she matched me, and it was weird. We never actually wound up going out. I did wind up going out with the other person at least once, which was plenty.
Okay, so the algorithm was right in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry, my eye's been bothering me, so I'm mostly just shutting off the camera so I can hold a patch over my eye effectively.
That is fair. I also I hope the sound in the background here is okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Fucking people living.
having food made, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, clearly you have your housemate, much like with what Milo ended up sorry, the Milo thing is just reeks of scam, like 100% scam. How he's now straight.
Oh.
And his husband isn't. There's no sexual activity that goes on there. His husband is merely his housemate now, and there's definitely no sex going on. He's Milo's straight now, and
Oh yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's definitely my housemate back there. We have a very heterosexual relationship.
yeah,
You know, guys being dudes, guys being bros. There's dumbbells on the floor. That's how you know it's serious straight men activity up there.
no, that being said,
What's the name of your dog?
Oh yeah, that's Miles. He, for whatever reason, is terrified of video calls. He thinks that they are unholy and he wants nothing to do with them. So as soon as I start talking to my computer, he's like, "No, I'm out."
yeah,
You've got dumbbells on that. That's good. That is good.
That's actually. Sorry, totally interrupted you.
Oh no, I keep being told I'm in a heterosexual relationship. And I'm like, I don't actually care what you think, but okay, sure. Whatever. I like her.
So Milo Yiannopoulos has found a new way to monetize.
Yeah.
yeah.
What his being straight now? He's now straight.
He's now straight.
Yeah, according to him, and according to him, his husband, who, to my knowledge, he hasn't divorced or anything, is his housemate.
Right.
When being gay and racist doesn't work out, you gotta try being straight and racist.
Yeah, I was gonna say this, by the way, isn't to diminish. So I know, a friend of mine knows a couple of. I don't know if they consider themselves polyamorous. Maybe a couple of guys who are in a queer platonic relationship with each other, but they're not interested in having sex with each other, but they like live with each other and like hold hands and have like a very close friendship. And this isn't to diminish that, because it made me it like, as much as I wanted to make fun of the housemaid thing because I don't believe Milo, I do know that there is some genuinely heartwarming stuff like that as well.
I live with my ex-wife and her fiance, so.
That's fine. I live with my ex-girlfriend and her boyfriend that she's been with. He's the good one for cishets.
Oh yes, he is. As of this week, I'm officially ex-wife. She's officially ex-wife. So.
Nice.
Hey, that took long enough.
Yeah, the legal things take a long time. I know name. Okay, so I don't know how much. So, what's been the name change experience for everyone? We can, like I mentioned, we can go completely off topic, and now I just want to talk about this for some reason.
Well, I want to pull back on here. I mean, it's going to be.
Sorry.
Because Jane's moving in, so that my girlfriend, so and my kid's significant other lived here for a while. Then significant other lived here for a while, so it's been. Yeah, there's no one straight in this house.
Gotcha.
Since they don't watch, I'll just mention that I slept with him before she did. So.
I don't even know.
Little shoulder does.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go after that. That is an impressive flex there, Christy.
There's a line in a Franz Ferdinand song, right? He's your friend and we're so proud of you, your famous friend, and I blew him before you. It's okay. I'm sorry. You want the name change thing?
I was just curious because you were talking about divorce, and that reminded me of the nightmare that is legal stuff. Because it took me far too long before I ended up changing my name legally, and that was in 2019, or not 2019. Whatever, 2020, sorry. It was last year. Around the start of the pandemic, I got my name officially changed, and then I have to inform everywhere that my name is legally changed by a court order, because they can't do it themselves. So I did it to the Social Security office, and then I also needed to do it to the place where I'm getting food stamps. I needed to do it to the place that gives me medical assistance, because even though those buildings are even though that's the same building, they don't talk with each other, and so I had to and they can't transfer information apparently. And then I had a hospital I went to recently that I also updated my driver's license or whatever, and I had a hospital recently who wanted the court order, despite the fact that I've got my insurance card is updated with my legal name, my ID is updated with my legal name, but apparently that's not enough for them. And it's just like, why do you want the court order too? So I don't know what sort of name related experiences that you guys have gone through the legal thing. And I'm sorry, Perfict, for I realize this is what happens when you have we have a trans guest, and we end up with experiences that you don't experience because you're a cishet normie, and no, you're a good person, Perfict.
I've been using the last name Abbey for most of my life, for many reasons. But yeah, it's still. I announced October of last year that my name was changed, and all the court stuff is still not gone through. But in another weird flex, not a weird flex for me, but for Lori, now that we're divorced, she gets to pick her name. So she's going to be Abbey before I am. So my kid is Abbey before I am. The first Mrs. Abbey is Abbey before I am, and the second Mrs. Abbey is Abbey before I am.
I see.
So, yeah, at the hospital, it was the last second thing. Can we use Abbey as the last name, even though it's neither of ours? And they said, yes, of course you can, when the kid was born.
I also hate it when it gets changed. I talk with them and they say they change it, and then it either gets changed back or doesn't go through or something, and then you find out later that they've still been using your dead name that's not your legal name, despite the fact that that's not the name on your ID.
I originally pulled up a random script from there. I was like, my insurance started hyphenating my name, which is how I was just using it when I had to use my legal name. But I would make sure that that Abbey in there. But now, yeah, it's hyphenated again here, and it is not here. So that's fun. I now have 4 accounts at my pharmacist because that's a thing.
Yeah. So
Maybe oh, sorry. What?
Oh, I was just gonna ask. So how's the name experience been with you? Or
It was surprisingly easy, all things considered, and I think it's because not only do I live in Canada, I also live in a very, very trans-friendly province.
yeah,
So the lawyer that I actually saw who helped me with all of my name change documents was a non-binary person.
yeah,
I was helped by a trans person through the name change process as a trans person, and that was really, really nice. It's the annoyances that I found are emails coming in and letters coming in of, just whatever, like my car insurance and all of these various places that I forgot to tell because, of course, you told CRA, that's the Canada Revenue Agency. I told all of my workplaces. I, handled it on all of it, like my passport, my driver's license, all of that. So I handled all of that. But then all of the little things that start piling up and you're like, I forgot I even had a subscription with this.
yeah.
And so it was mostly just kind of little annoying things.
I will say, when it comes to the name change thing, the reason it took me so long was less because I live in St. Paul, which is relatively trans-friendly, and the judge was really nice. I wasn't the only person changing gender and name on my legally in when I went to the court. I just didn't know payment was the biggest thing. I didn't know about the payment thing relation to being poor. So I just brought my parents because I have accepting parents, and the judge was just like, yeah, no, okay, this sounds good. You're good.
It's
We love
$4.
accepting parents.
Yeah.
It's $4 for me. I think I can scrape that up. I mean, I'm in Buffalo.
Very nice price.
I'm very close. I'm obviously very close to where you are. So. The most the closest that America gets to a Canadian city. But yeah, New York's rules are, we still have to post the bans, which I'd rather not. But you know, you can do it in the local penny saver or something. It's going to cost me more to actually do the announcement than it is to get my name changed.
Wow. It was definitely, it wasn't cheap to do here.
Oh.
Which was a little bit annoying. It wasn't, outrageously expensive, but it definitely, as a millennial living in a major city and paying rent,
Yeah.
it hit. I felt it.
So I'm looking at my questions and realizing that we've either talked about a lot of them intuitively or they don't really apply well to dating. But that said, I am going to ask one of my questions, even though it doesn't apply well to dating, just because I'm curious what sort of answer, if something really smart can accidentally happen from it. Would you get rid of the concept of dating if you could?
I'm gonna say yes, only in the sense of Phoenix from the ashes. Like, just trash what we have. Let's start over. Let's make it gayer, first of all. Make it so much gayer than it is.
Yes.
But also just dismantling all of the ridiculous gender roles and the expectations, like the structure of men being the agents and women being the objects. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
Just throw the whole thing out. So I would, but only in the sense of building it back up into something better, more powerful, and able to just consume the previous weaker structure.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is you are an accelerationist, but only in the case of getting rid of dating. No, that I wouldn't actually have a problem with that, because I think there's a lot of things that need to be added as well. But sorry, I interrupted you, Christy.
There is a joke, which is what does a lesbian bring on a second date? A U-Haul. Which...
Oof.
Yeah,
that's a bit fast.
No, it kind of is the way that system is, and I don't know why. I'm fine with it because that's always the way I dated. So.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you're talking to a person who doesn't really understand dating, and I'm just like, mostly just want to date for the cuddle. So this is why we need that to be worked in, so that's not... We just need less of the restrictions and the assumptions, and just having people be able to be close friends better, and get back to the family raising a child instead of like having to be the biological parents type shit.
I will say, I think that the way that dating is structured is very interesting, because when you think about it, just the U-Haul, and I'm not saying, oh, everyone just go ahead and go move in with your partner right now. Take your time, get to know someone. But it's interesting when you think about it. The dating process is doing all of the fun things together. You get lots of time apart. You kind of do this whole, all of the things that tell you whether or not you're really compatible. sharing a bed with someone, sharing a bathroom with someone, generally just kind of sharing your space with someone, being able to be quiet in each other's presence. These are all things that come after. They are after the dating process. So you don't really do all of the things that tell you whether or not you're compatible as people until after, the whole dating thing. And I've always thought that that was interesting because lots of people can have fun together and then just want to rip each other's heads off when they're alone trying to have downtime. And for me, it kind of feels like if I were to revamp dating or get rid of it and replace it with something else, I would have people know how to be quiet with each other first, to know how to kind of share a gentle space before they go out to restaurants and bars and have fun.
Dating.
If that's your idea of fun.
Well, no. Do the really nice 8-hour dating thing of just being once in a while, once every other week, or I don't know how often dating works. I am the worst person in terms of dating. But just 8 hours and 6 to 8 hours, and you have the downtime, you have some of the fun, you have some hangout, potentially you have some makeouts and or the sex thing.
The first Mrs. Abbey and I were dating, and I didn't even know it, so there's that too.
Sometimes it sneaks up on you. Also, oh my goodness, I just noticed the chat. Big Dog has forgiven. He came over and let me scratch his head, so that's good news. And read the dating or sharing a kitchen, sharing a kitchen. My goodness, yes. That is the real determining factor as to how compatible you are with someone, and not just someone you're dating. So roommates, can you share a kitchen? Will that work? It's great. I'm dating a chef, so the kitchen's his, and I don't really ever have to go in there unless I'm baking muffins.
Yeah. When I was dating my ex, I was the one who was cooking food because I do like some of the aspects of cooking food, although I'm not some master chef. There's just a few things I can cook relatively well. I really like curry powder now. I kind of forced myself to do it. So, okay. Little bit of backstory. My parents really like Indian food, and they really make or get it a bunch. Food from India. Food from people in America who have Indian restaurants or whatever, with relation to referring to the country India. But I really didn't like cumin, which is in everything in an Indian restaurant. But I like turmeric. I liked a lot of the aspects of curry, so I just slowly acclimated myself to cumin by using curry powder and little bits of curry powder in cooked with eggs and whatever. So now I like cumin and I like curry powder. And I'm fine with it. And this is specifically so that I can more easily share food with my parents if they want to cook some dal. And obviously they're both white too. They just really like Indian food.
It's gonna be interesting.
Really cute.
When all four of us are in the kitchen, which does happen. It's a bit of a dance. 'Cause,
yeah, the kitchen here is small.
Yeah, it's not huge here. It's more a column than a room. So
yeah,
it's long. It's just not wide. And we're all.
But now I really want
we're
a
all
curry.
wide, but not long.
yeah. Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to make get some chai masala, have some curry flavored food. What?
No.
What do you have against chai masala?
I don't eat Indian food.
Chai masala is a tea.
Okay, I don't know what that. Oh, you try. I was hearing it as one word. Yeah, the kid and the ex share the Indian food. I have eaten that. But no, the whole thing with living compatibility is one of the that is a huge thing. I'm very much a night person. If you're not a night person, that's probably going to bother you.
Yeah, that's a problem, which is what I'm trying to sort out in terms of getting out of this, trying to find a better place to live, because one roommate works second shift, one roommate's like a night person and stays up all night, and I'm a morning person, so it's a nightmare of sorts.
You're one of those rare people. Although I say that, I used to not be a morning person, but apparently now I am, and it's because I got in a relationship with a morning person. So it can happen, but I think one of the important things to remember, whether or not it's just space sharing platonically or being in a relationship with someone, is change can happen, and it happens best if you don't expect it.
Yeah.
But if I can quickly bring it way back,
Sure.
just to dating as a trans person, there was something that I wanted to say, just to kind of bring up specifically for trans people who might be watching this, and that is to be. Obviously, there's safety concerns with dating as a trans person. There's a number of different things to consider, and it's going to differ depending on whether or not you're trans feminine or trans masculine. But I just kind of want to put it out there that people are aware of this transphobia motivated narrative of trans people not being dateable. I have talked to so many trans people who part of their fear of coming out is that they're worried about finding partners. They're worried about, finding love and meeting people. And realistically, what's going to impact that is the same things that impact it before you come out, which is how personable are you? Are you someone who likes to go out and meet people? Are you someone who's interested in having a romantic relationship? There's all kinds of different factors at play. Scratching a dog. All kinds of different factors at play.
Doggo got comfortable. He's not.
He's here.
It's us. We're a friendly bunch.
Yeah, no, trans people, pets love trans people. It's official statement.
Oh, my first couple weeks on hormones, my cat wouldn't come near me.
Interesting.
Kept hissing at me. I was like, I'm the same person.
But back to that was a bit of a sidetrack. I got distracted by your dog.
Doggy.
You were saying, yeah, but doggy.
Cute, I get
but no, you were saying about the trans person undateable myth or whatever, and that the fears related to that some trans people have. And I interrupted you.
Oh,
because of doggy.
because of doggy. Now we get frying sounds. The reason that I was bringing it up was just so people totally lost my train of thought. But the takeaway point is simply that I don't want people to have to go through the same thing that I went through, that I know a lot of my friends went through, of thinking that being trans and being honest about that is going to be some huge detriment to your dating life.
Yeah.
Like barring the impact that it has, that it could potentially have on safety, which is something that you definitely need to be aware of. I don't think it's this big deal breaker the way it's often framed it is.
I figure it this way, and this is the other trans people, because I didn't know this was going to happen. It's easier to find dates if you're someone who's smiling a lot, as opposed to someone who's absolutely angry looking constantly.
Yeah, or miserable looking constantly.
Yeah.
Okay, now I do feel like I have to show my
think
horrible old pic. Like, look at how unhappy I am.
Yep.
And that doesn't seem like me at all, so that too, but
I guess the if trans people do struggle after coming out, I would venture that a fair amount of that comes down to how your confidence is impacted shortly after you've come out. Sort of when you're in that awkward phase where, you know, if you're on HRT, you're going through puberty again. And it would be interesting. I would love to, you know, just some kind of study that actually gets reports from trans people who have been out for a long time and their experience dating and you know, how they have found it.
You can suggest it to the Pride study. I'm actually
wait, what study is that?
called the Pride Study. It's an ongoing research project.
Pride study. I thought you said bride study.
No.
I thought it was like, because dating and like sometimes that ends in marriage and, you know, but like, why would it be focused on bride? See, this is the trans woman expecting everything to be about her type thing and ignoring trans men or anyone who's not going to end up as a bride.
I'm lucky the first two. Anyway, yeah, it's the confidence level. I was sort of seeing a trans person for a long time afterwards, but it didn't exactly break up. It just changed. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's a very strange. It's a strange place to be. Is dating as myself is a much different thing than before. Because again, aside from being angry, it's just, you know, knowing that there's something poking you in the back.
Yeah. And I will say also that just dating included, there's a lot of LGBT stuff and disability crossover when it comes to dating stuff, in terms of shame, in terms of chasers, in terms of just not being viewed as dateable. Just a bunch of stuff that
I've encountered. I won't use our term for it, but I've encountered disability chasers before.
Yeah,
that is an actual thing. Which
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just gonna bring up the more othered features that you have. You know, being a trans person, being disabled, being a trans person of color, being a disabled trans person of color, like having all of these like things I've seen, you know, just in the dating world, obviously not experienced it directly, but I've seen lots of racism, particularly. I say, like, I live in a very queer city, but I've seen a lot of racism in the dating scene in my city, particularly anti-Asian racism. And yeah, I think how different aspects of a person's identity come into play there, just the intersectionality of dating.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really important thing to bring up.
And intersectionality in general is like vital for getting anything positive done. And to quote the international I forgot the quote. God damn it. To quote the thing, I forgot the quote. Well, whatever. Martin Luther King also does a similar quote. Injustice everywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It's like a great quote, and it applies to LGBT stuff and racism and disability stuff and all of it, because it's just, yeah.
Because it all centers back to being about human rights.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, there we go. Here's one useful thing for a game. It's great for the I found that weirdly enough, the cane, the wheelchair initially, but then this thing has cost me more than the trans thing. I've been more embarrassed by it, which is also not expected.
Yeah.
So
that said, we are getting close to the closing time of this. Although now I can't unsee that video of the pointing out that closing time is about a kid, one of the artist's kids being born, the lead singer's kid being born. There's like the artist does a whole explanation of like the backstory of closing time. It's amazing.
I thought that was obvious. I listen to music differently, I guess, because that's my thing.
But that said, Finnjamin, where can people find you? And is there any project that you're working on soon that you'd like to promote?
Well, people can find me on YouTube, just under Finnjamin Fox, or on Instagram, Finnjamin_Fox. And as far as, things that I'm working on right now, I've been kind of gearing up with an essay on cancel culture, but every time I go down that rabbit hole, I'm just overwhelmed by things and information. So I'd love to promise that, but I actually have a video hopefully coming up soon on just dating while trans and sort of more in-depth analysis of my experiences and yeah, this whole thing.
Yeah, but yours will be a much more collected and in-depth thing, and I'm sure worth a watch.
I hope so. I hope so.
I'm a big fan. I really am.
Thank you.
Perfect. Where can people find you?
Well, I do this gig every week, and other than that, you can try finding me at the Fluid Voice Discord or the Rumpus Room Discord.
Yeah. Which I finally fixed some of the stuff relating to the Fluid Voice Discord, because then it was all like locked down for some reason that I had to unlock it. It's just I don't know. The Fluid Discord has been a mess, and I feel like I have to take over managing it.
But that's it for me.
Yeah. Christy, anything you're working on, and I will remind you of things if you forget. And where can people find you?
Well, quickly, I do the trans news thing, which I don't remember. It's
Rainbow Shelter News on this channel,
which is all LGBTQ news. It's not just this show. I do interviews on my channel, Christy Abbey, and I haven't, various reasons why they're sporadic lately, but that will stable out. That should stabilize within the next couple weeks. And I will be on Steve Shive's channel on Monday, and supposedly Jesse Gender and I are going to be working on something soon, but I'm not going to say much about it. We are.
Yeah.
Because we have an overlapping thing I wanted to do a project on, and she wanted to do one as well. And I'm like, why don't we do it together? Because we're handling different parts of the same thing.
Well, I'm excited for that. I won't dig, but I'm excited for that.
And you can find me in the dark you can find me in ozmainthedark.com because it was cheap, and you can find me here on Sundays and Wednesdays. Sundays, whatever this show usually goes on, I don't want to do the math. And Wednesdays, I also don't want to do the math, but I assume 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, I believe, if I recall correctly. And I don't know, something like 8 p.m. GMT at the moment, because their whole... Whatever. That actually might be right. I might have actually remembered it. I show up, I co-host Sophia's news thing every Monday, before, and this will be before Christy's stuff. So the Steve Shives thing is like, what time again, Christy?
6 Eastern.
6 Eastern, yeah. And the
Should have said that. I'm sorry.
don't apologize.
I assume everybody knows Steve Shives, so.
Well, more people know Steve Shives than know us. That's objectively the case. But all the cool people know you, Christy, though. Yeah, so that's on at like 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on Sophia's channel, 6 p.m. GMT, and yeah, and I'll try to work on stuff for the clips I try to put out on Tuesday. I'll try to get that stuff done, and once I get my life together more, I will get back to streaming and talking more. But that said, you know, your voice matters.
It's been so long, right?
Look, I almost always forget, and I've been doing this. I was like, hey, Christy, can I steal that slogan that you use? And you're like, sure. And then I've been doing it for like a year, and I've been forgetting in almost every week, except for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't know how that keeps happening. It's your voice matters, your mind matters, and you matter, right? No, damn it.
Your life matters.
Holy your life.
Your life matters, your voice matters, and you matter.
Thank you. I don't know how I keep this. Bye, everybody.
Some of the impact of it there, lady.
Bye.